What's up, everybody? Sorry I made y'all wait. I was supposed to go live like an hour ago, but I had to help my daughter with some homework. So appreciate y'all waiting. I love y'all. Let's get the intro going. Let's rock and roll. Let's talk Niners tonight. It's not working? You gotta be kidding me. What's up, everybody? I'm sorry if you were waiting earlier. I had to push things back. Got busy. I had to eat. I had to help my daughter with some homework. You know the vibes. That's why I can't keep a certain time. But I appreciate y'all for hopping in the first place. Let's got to get some new theme music. I do, but the thing is, there's only certain music you can use because there's copyrights and stuff like that. I actually had a different intro before, but my videos would get flagged from copyright, so I had to change it up. But we will get a new intro soon because unfortunately, things you got to keep changing. You got to keep moving. You got to keep growing and rebranding. But you know what? We're not here to talk about my intro music. How the hell is everybody doing tonight? How are we feeling? There's some news that is coming around the corner. I could just feel it. 49ers are getting close to some good news. I feel. Obviously the trade, or not the trade deadline, the franchise tag deadline was today. It came and went. The 49ers didn't make any franchise tags, but we expected that. That's pretty much par for the course for the 49ers. What does that mean? That means there's going to be a lot of 49er free agents, right? On the market next week. The new league year starts March 15th. That's when players can officially sign their contract. But before that, Monday is the day that teams and players can negotiate contracts. That is going to be a hell of a day. That's going to be a nitty gritty day. There was a lot of news today, not with the 49ers, but in general. The NFL had a lot of news. There was Danny Dimes signed, right, with the Giants. Got him a lot of money. Saquon Barkley got the franchise tag. Players are getting released. There's players that are on the market. It's going to be a very, very fun and insane free agency frenzy next week. It's about to go crazy. Now, the 49ers, do I expect them to make a splash? Probably not, but you never know. I feel like in the next couple of days, they're going to restructure some contracts here and there, make some money available so they can bring in some players or re-sign their own guys because they have a lot of free agents. Aziz Al-Shahir, Jimmy Ward, Tashawn Gibson, Mike McGlinchey, Jake Brendel, Dan Brunskill. You got Emmanuel Mosley. There's a lot of free agents on this team. Samson Ebicam, Charles Omenihu. Who else is a free agent? I mean, Jordan Willis, Hassan Ridgeway. There's a lot. I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about every single one, but we'd be here all night. So 49ers have to get some players. Robbie Gould's a free agent. They got to get some of these players back. But at the same time, they have some younger players that can step up. And whoever leaves, that it's going to open the window up for some of these younger guys. Sam Womack, and players like that. Drake Jackson and guys like that. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. And then after that is the draft, right? The 49ers were pretty heavily involved in the draft combine last week. They scouted a lot of players. They kind of, pick and choose who they want to get. With those late round picks, the 49ers are so good at getting late round picks and evaluating those type of players. They know they can get a lot of good players that could be future starters on this team for pennies on the dollar. So if you lose some players, you bring in some young player, rookie or second year player, and they're going to be starting at a very value at a cheap contract, right? So it's going to be a crazy next couple of weeks. Caesar says a lot of good players. Jose says, we didn't franchise tag anyone. No, we did not. The 49ers did not exercise their tag. They usually don't. The 49ers are a team that typically doesn't franchise tag. 7 out of 8 years with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they've only used the franchise tag once. So 7 out of 8 years, they didn't use the tag. The only time they did it was Robbie Gould 4 years ago. And in general, the 49ers don't use the tag. The only times they've used it through their history, they used it with Steve Young. They used it with Terrell Owens. They used it with Julian Peterson and they used it with there was another guy that I had mentioned earlier, and Deshaun Golson. So they barely used it over their history of their franchise history. So it's something that 49ers typically don't do. They develop talent, they draft well, they go get some free agents, this and that. So depending on the regime is how they kind of manage their team. With the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan regime, they go through the draft. They build ground up. That's what they do. So you got to, yeah, Candace says you got to be special for them to use. You got to be beyond special. Or in the case of Robbie Gould, they knew he was going to go. So they were like, well, we'll just block his his exit. They were like, we're going to keep you here, Robbie. We're going to hold you hostage. And then after his tag ended up, they were like, okay, we want you to stay. He's like, I want to go, bro. I want to go. How about we pay you this much money? He's like, all right, if you're going to pay me that much, I'll stay. But this time, they couldn't keep Robbie Gould hostage, and he's about to go somewhere, probably Chicago, somewhere close to home. I don't blame Robbie. You know what? We've talked about that a couple nights. It is what it is. He's the business. It's a business. He's 40 years old, and he wants to be close to his family. So Ryan says, what's up? I'm late. It's all good, man. You're better late than never. We just started. I was late. Honestly, I'm late. I apologize to you guys. I should have been here on time, but my daughter needed help on homework. So my daughter comes first, so it is what it is. Oh, man, 49ers Minded says, time to move on from Gould. I feel there's a group of fans that are okay to move on. There's a group of fans that aren't because they're sentimental. He's a clutch kicker, but he is 40. He can't hit you. He can't get a touchback. His accuracy is getting a little bit lower, and he wants a lot of money, which he deserves. He's a legendary kicker. But you go get a young kicker that could be on this team for a long time and save you a lot of money because they got to extend Nick Bosa, right? There's players we want. It comes down to this. Like, okay, let's say the money is restructured and the 49ers have a little bit more to bring some players back. Would you rather have Jimmy Ward or Robbie Gould? That's what it comes down to. Would you rather have, Emmanuel Mosley or Jimmy Ward or Robbie Gould? That's what it comes down to me is, do you want Emmanuel Mosley on your team or Robbie Gould? Who's going to make a bigger impact? I feel like that's where the 49ers are. That's how it should be in the offseason. It's like, okay, we got a crop of players that are going to be free agents, expired contracts. Who means more to this team? Who should we bring back? And then who we just going to allow them to go get a bag? Like some players, like Azeez Al-Shaair, I love the guy. I think the world of him, but he's going to go get a big contract. The 49ers are not going to be able to afford it, and they can develop some young linebackers to replace him. But Azeez Al-Shaair, wherever he goes, probably Houston, he deserves all the money he's going to get. I mean, I would love to keep him, but then you have to prioritize. Well, you kind of need a safety to Sean Gibson, right? Or Emmanuel Mosley. Pay them instead of paying your kicker $6 million. So, let's see. How do I feel about the rumors? Let's get to it. There are a lot of rumors out there, right? There's a lot of rumors out there. There's a lot. Let's bring them up. Ask me a rumor, and we'll talk about it. So there's the first one from Raul. He says, how do you feel about the Jessie Bates rumors? You know what? I like Jessie Bates. I think he'd be a primetime player on this team. He's a great coverage safety. We've talked about that. I really like him. He's hung out with the 49ers this offseason in Vegas. Him and Joe Burrow hung out with the 49ers around that time after the week before the Super Bowl, when all the players were there, and Kittle and Bosa, and Debo, they were all there. They hung out together. So Jessie Bates kind of probably fits the culture. He probably fits the vibe. He's a great player. Him and Hufanga would be a phenomenal duo. But the thing is, Jessie Bates would cost a lot of money. He's going to be one of the top paid safeties in the league. So if you want a guy like Jessie Bates, you're going to have to pay him $17 million probably annually, $17 million. They're going to have to move around a lot of money. They don't have a lot of expiring contracts. They don't have players that they can move around too much. You got Fred Warner. He got paid a couple years ago. Maybe you move around some of his money. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, who doesn't have guaranteed money, they're going to figure out how to convert his salary around because that's the way you can save money. Maybe Armstead, but they've already restructured him, and you don't want to keep throwing money down the line and owing him money in 2032 because you just want to afford some players. You kind of want to, let that contract ride out. There are players, George Kittle, it's another contract you got to look into. Trent Williams, last year they gave him a lump sum guaranteed upfront payment. Maybe they do something like that. So I'm interested to see what Parag's going to do to move the money. But if you want Bates, you're going to have to pay him top dollar. So if you go and get Bates, I mean, obviously you're not getting Jimmy Ward because Bates is 5-6 years younger than Jimmy Ward, and he's on the rise. He's a superstar in the making. So you're going to have to pay him a lot more than you would pay Jimmy Ward. So then, it begs to say, like, okay, maybe if we are going to chase a big name safety, why don't we just bring back Jimmy Ward? Pay him the money. Pay him the $12 million. So the thing with Jimmy, though, is it's probably going to be a 2-year deal, 3-year deal. Bates, you could probably squeeze it up to 4, maybe 5 years, depending on the annuals and everything. So I would love Bates, but if they're going to go spend a lot of money in the offseason and they're probably only going to be able to get one, do you want it to be a safety or do you want it to be a lineman, a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, probably, the trenches? Because what do we keep saying? We need to solidify the trenches. We need to go get a D lineman. We need to go get somebody in that middle, right? We need somebody on that right side of the O-line. So I would feel like if they're going to go and cash in and spend a lot of money on a big name player this season, I'd rather have it be in the trenches than at safety. And I love Jesse Bates, but I think you can figure that out with a younger, cheaper player somewhere else, maybe in the draft, because they do know how to draft really well in the later rounds. It's tough because last year was the first year I feel like they really went out and spent a lot of money in secondary. They got Mooney Ward. Right? They had a lot of years where they're just like signing mid cornerbacks. I mean, obviously it changed when they got Richard Sherman. That was like, whoa, okay. We never signed cornerbacks. That was a crazy splash move. But Richard Sherman was kind of, past his prime years. He kind of came in for a discounted rate. If you really think about it, he was his own agent. He didn't get the money that I was like, whoa, Richard Sherman deserves a lot more. But he came in at a discounted rate. But he still was, towards the end of his career, he still played really well for us. And he was a veteran leader, But that was like the first time I was like, oh, they went and got a pretty good corner. But they didn't go crazy and break the bank. Last year with Mooney Ward, they broke the bank. They went out and they went and put the chips on the table. And I was like, okay, that was what you need to do. That was a money move. And they went out and spent that money on a corner. So I don't know if they're going to do that back-to-back years to go get someone in the secondary. So that's just not the 49ers. I feel like through the years, they never really put priority on the secondary because they're okay with getting some mid-round, some average guys that can get better through development, and you bolster that D-line. And that D-line, if they get the pressure, if they're going and killing quarterbacks, it's going to help out your secondary. That's the 49ers. They go and develop that defensive line. So I think the money's better spent there, in my eyes. I don't know. I like Bates, though. Good question. Isaac says, we have a solid offense, just need O-line. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what they do. Pretty much seems like Mike McGlinchey's not coming back. But Jake Brendel, I think they could bring back Jake the Snake Brendel. I think he's going to be a guy they bring back. They retain him. Played good his first year as a starter. I think they figure out a way. And maybe Dan Brunskill. He's a guy that can play anywhere on the line. I love it. I think he's definitely going to be a guy that they can bring back. But if not, you got a lot of younger players. They do have Nick Zakelj. You do have Jason Pope. You do have Colton McKivitz. You have Jalen Moore. You have to see what you have out of these guys. And it's going to really push them. And then you get to go draft some guys. So the O-line is going to be interesting to see. I really don't have a pulse on what they're going to do with the O-line. I definitely think that Jake Brendel will be back. I think the writing is on the wall for Mike. I think everybody's saying he's going to get a lot of money. So I'm going to believe what everybody's telling me. Everybody says, enough with the Lamar Jackson questions. We're not getting Lamar. Why does everybody think we're getting Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson, first off, let's talk about Lamar. I feel bad for the guy because, okay, he got the exclusive tag. That means the Ravens can trade him to a team. Teams can offer him, but they can match. They can match a deal, right? They can match a deal. And if they don't want him, if they don't bring him back, the team that offers him that contract has to give up 2 first-round picks to the Ravens. That's a dub. The 49ers don't necessarily have first-round picks this year. They have first-round picks 24, 25. They don't have first-round picks to give up this year. Not only that, his salary cap's going to be through the roof if they pay him what he's kind of looking towards. The market's kind of weird. I think he wants to get that Deshaun Watson money, but I don't know if the league's trying to give it to him. It seems weird because all of these teams that probably could use him are saying they don't want him. Dolphins, the Panthers, the Falcons. Everybody's saying we're not going to go get Lamar. They don't want to give up the first-round picks. They don't want to pay him the money that he probably deserves. And last year, Deshaun Watson kind of messed up the market. Paid a lot of money. And now this market's kind of weird because you had, $100 million guaranteed for Derek Carr. You had today Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes went and got what? He got a big old contract. They paid him a lot of money. It's crazy. Danny Dimes will go get a contract. But Lamar Jackson's still up in the. We don't know what it's going to happen. But I don't think the Niners could get him because you have to give up 2 first-round picks basically in order to get him. And they're not going to give up another first-round pick. They already gave up a couple first-round picks to go and get Trey Lance, you know? So I just don't even think that they'd be able to qualify because you got to send those first-round picks this year. 49ers don't have any first-round picks this year. They don't even have one. It just doesn't make sense to me how they're going to get it. So, you know, Lamar's situation is definitely something to keep an eye on for the rest of the NFL, but it's not happening to the Niners. S. Flood says the Ravens turned their back on Lamar. It does seem like it's crazy, man. That whole situation. The guy was a league MVP. He was a league MVP, and it just seems like he's kind of getting toyed, or he's getting blackballed a little bit. I know a lot of people are saying there's collusion theories and stuff like that. It kind of feels that way. It does feel weird. It feels very, very interesting, is the way I guess you got to put it. It's a weird situation. My man Jaime says, what's going on? 55 people in the chat and only 20 hit that like button. That's a no-go. Let's hit that like button. That's what I'm talking about, my man. Hit that like button. Let's help the channel out. Just all it takes is a second. You hit the like, and it helps the channel. Appreciate you, my man. Let's take a look at some of these other questions here. Jason Hess says, Payne is franchise tag. I wish we would have been able to get him. That's a guy that I really wanted, but unfortunately, Jerome Payne is not coming back. A Goated says, I'd love to have Payne. Him and Armstead and Bosa would be crazy. It definitely would have been, but obviously, you know, the Commanders gave him the tag, as they should. That was a smart move. I would have tagged him, too, if I'm Washington. That guy's a monster. He's a beast. Let's see. Jason also says, I'm telling you, mark my words, if Saldiviri is available, 49ers take him in the third round. Great old lineman. I do like him. I think his tape looks great. He looked good in the combine this weekend. Definitely a guy that you can add to this team. You know, if he's available third round, he probably will be the best available offensive lineman. And the 49ers have 3 picks pretty much in a cluster. They have, you know, 3 picks, 99, 100, 102, in that range, you know, depending on if they move up or not. They basically will have their mindset and know the 3 guys they're going to go get if they don't trade around in those areas. So that's pretty cool. We're going to see 3 guys come off the board pretty quickly for the 49ers when the draft comes. And I could definitely see them taking an offensive lineman, best available at that position, when the draft time comes. So A Goated says, I'm still stuck on how we got the third most cap space. So it's not necessarily cap space. It's adjusted cap space. So let's talk about that. It's not necessarily the actual cap that the team has to spend on players. It's everything that the team is owed from the league. That's how much spending money they have in terms of their general team, you know, to pay everybody. And it's money that was refunded from incentives that they were trying to pay out to players. Because, you know, every year they pay players bonuses, incentives. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, he had the winning bonus, right? He didn't hit that total bonus. And he was like $2 or $3 million that he didn't get claimed because, you know, he had the injury, so he didn't get to win all the games that he could have to earn the max money. So that money gets banked back up to the 49ers. So that's what they do. They give you a chance. If you're a player, we'll give you extra money. We'll give you extra money. If you hit this incentive, if you hit this incentive, like Debo, he had the rushing touchdown incentive and the receiving yard incentive and all that kind of like all those incentives in his contract, rushing yards and all that stuff. So if Debo hits those markers, boom, here's your money. You earned it. But if they don't, that money gets deposited back into the 49ers overall cap amount. It's not cap space that they have to spend because that's a whole different subset of the whole salary cap. So you have this whole bracket of money, the salary cap. But then this cap space, that's what you have allotted to spend on the players. So I guess I should have clarified that a little bit better. I lose sleep to watch Raj, my man. Jason, I appreciate you. Don't lose too much sleep. My man says it's barely going to be 9 p.m. It's what time is it over here? 6:51 West Coast time. It's late for some folks. 9:51 for the East Coast time. But for me, it's still early. For me, for me, it's early. For some people, it's not. And there's other time zones out there. Some people, it might be 2 a.m. for them. So we'll see how, some people are up late. Oh, man, Red Eye. What's good, Red Eye? He always has something interesting to say on the chat. Let's see what he says. He says, Lamar, Rodgers, Brady, all ain't coming to the Niners. Stop these Gen Z inexperienced incel questions already. One look at Sport Trek answers a solid no. LOL. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to put it is we're not getting at those guys. We don't have the money for those guys. Brady's retired. Brady, you know what? Tom Brady told us today. He tweeted, I got a kitten. I got a kitten to play with. My daughter has a kitten. Let me get the exact. Let me see what Tom Brady says. This is what Tom Brady said. I love it. I was cracking up today. This is what he said today. All these people are trying to rumor Tom Brady. He says, anyone who thinks I have time to come back to the NFL has never adopted a 2-month-old kitten for their daughter. He ain't coming. He's got a kitten to take care of. He's a single dad, just like some of us, Oh man, Trey is God says, why are we even talking about Tom? He was trash. Let's be real. He was he's best quarterback in the league. But I mean, let the man retire. Let the man retire. If he comes, it'd be crazy story. He's nice. He's retired. Everybody just wants to keep building that story of Tom Brady coming to the Niners. If it happens, it'd break the internet. But the man, like he says, he's got a 2-month-old kitten to take care of. Saul says, who do you think signs Jimmy Garoppolo? So let's talk about that. That's a good question because we do need to figure out where's Jimmy going. How much is he getting? The quarterback market is kind of crazy right now, right? Carr got that big money, $100 million guaranteed. Geno Smith, shout out to Geno Smith. Geno Smith just finessed the NFL yesterday. That man finessed the NFL yesterday. Can you imagine how much money that man's making? He had one great year in his whole career. He was a backup for his whole career. A backup for his whole career. And now look at him now. That man's making. Shout out to Geno Smith, man. That man finessed the NFL. And now he can go back to playing mid. He didn't do good the last 5 games of the season last year. 3 years, $105 million deal for Geno Smith. That's crazy money. But going back to Jimmy, so what I'm saying is those contracts are going to really dictate his market, right? I still there's some rumors today that says Houston. A couple of days ago, they said the Raiders. Those are 2 teams that have an eye supposedly on Jimmy Garoppolo. According to, the media, I know Aaron Rodgers is who the Jets want. They're going full court press. Now it kind of makes, to me, if the Aaron Rodgers situation to the Jets, if that doesn't work out, if the Jets strike out and they don't get Aaron Rodgers, maybe they go and pivot and try to get Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe they make a move. Oh, crap, we got to go get some. Jimmy, your plan C. We didn't get Carr. We didn't get Rodgers. Come on over here, Jimmy. So maybe Jimmy goes to the Jets. Houston, the reports today says, let me pull this up, that Jimmy Garoppolo, that there's a strong contingent. You got to love these. You got to love these rumors because they make it sound so real. They make it sound so real, Let me pull up it says, here it is. There's a push within the building. This is what they say about Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a push within the building for Texans to sign Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, there's a push. Make it sound so real. I mean, who knows if there's a push? Who knows if they even want? But Jimmy Garoppolo to the Texans could make sense. DeMeco Ryans, they can get him as a bridge because they're going to draft a quarterback. But, Jimmy's the bridge guy. He's done it before. He's won games. He's coming in. It's a new regime. Change the culture. So I can see it. The Raiders, he's got ties to them. Maybe he goes to one of those teams. So the Bucks, I still think, this was my initial guess or rumor, or I guess hot take. I guess we'll call it a guess. My initial prediction, that's the word, prediction. That's the word I was looking for. My initial prediction about Jimmy Garoppolo is he's going to the Buccaneers. He's a Buck. That's it. If I had to make a prediction for Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm going to say the Buccaneers. I think it makes sense. I don't know. I feel like they have a team in place for him. They have a pretty good defense there. It's not the greatest division. I think he'd be a clear-cut starter over all the other quarterbacks there. He doesn't have to fight for anybody. He could come in, get a decent contract, win some games for them, right? Play the same type of offenses Tom Brady was doing there. Mimi says the Bucks are going to slide in and swoop Jimmy. That's what I think. I think they're going to get Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Bucks make a lot of sense. We'll see. See how it goes. We'll see. Then Jason says, non-49er topic. Just curious, you think Rodgers signs with Green Bay or the Jets? They're making it sound like it's the Jets. They're making it sound full court press. The Jets, the players are recruiting him. It definitely seems like the Jets are all in. If the Jets don't get it, they took 2 L's because they waited on Carr because they wanted to see where the Rodgers situation was going to go. If they don't get Rodgers, who the hell are they going to get? Maybe, like I said, maybe Jimmy. It's an interesting situation because I do think the Jets are going to push as hard as they can. But, man, Aaron Rodgers, you can't read that guy. And then he says he's okay with waiting a little bit. But then a couple of days ago, he says he wants to make that decision sooner rather than later. The reports on Aaron Rodgers are just, it's like bipolar. They're all over the place. It's like a roller coaster. It's like 1 minute it says this, 1 minute it says this. I can't get a read on it. But ultimately, prediction, yes, I think Aaron Rodgers will go to the Jets. It's crazy, I know. I think they're going to put enough pressure on him that he goes. But I think Green Bay at this point is pushing for him to go. I think Green Bay says, hey, man, we got to see what the hell we have in Jordan Love. Because they did draft him, and maybe they want to see what they have. And if Aaron Rodgers stays, then they got to trade Jordan Love. Because Jordan Love is not going to just sit on that bench. You got to trade him. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. Rocio, wow. What if the Packers get Lamar? They would literally go from Favre to Rodgers to Lamar. Some franchises are spoiled, man. That would be crazy. It'd be crazy. It's like when the Colts went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, who unfortunately couldn't stay healthy. But some teams, they go from one great quarterback to the other, you know. But Brett Favre to Rodgers to Lamar would be crazy. So, okay, so if that's the case, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that one. So Green Bay would have to give up 2 first-round picks, or would they trade Aaron Rodgers? Would you just trade Aaron Rodgers to Lamar straight up? Is that how it would work? I don't know. That's crazy. It's interesting. The free agency season is so interesting, even when you're not thinking about just the Niner teams. That is definitely interesting. My man Trey says Jimmy needs to go with the Bears because the Bears have not so good quarterback. I mean, they got a young quarterback, Justin Fields. I think he's good. I mean, why give up on Justin Fields when he's only going to be in his 3rd year? He's developing pretty nicely overall. I mean, they don't really have much in Chicago. Stick with Justin, man. And they got the number 1 pick. So the Bears are in a good position. I mean, if they wanted to trade Justin or if they want to trade that first-round pick, they got it. But I think the Bears are in good position right now where they stand. They can get some good weapons. They can get some good talent. I like Justin Fields. Mimi says, I can't wait for the Jimmy G bidding war. I can picture it now. Jimmy sitting at Hooters while the NFL teams are fighting for his services. That's pretty funny. You know what? This is one thing I've said over the last couple of weeks that people got to realize. Like, I don't know how. Like, we're sitting here, we're talking about Jimmy's being pushed. There's a push within the organization with Houston. Like, all these teams supposedly are going to go and bid for Jimmy, right? I don't know if that's really going to happen. Like, I get it. I know he's won a lot of games, and we could sit here and talk about Jimmy and this and that. I don't know if a lot of teams value Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to see. We are really going to see next week when free agency hits if all the people that, you know, love Jimmy and say, oh, he would go to any teams would grovel for him. We're going to really see if that's true, because if he doesn't get a contract right away, it might take some time for him to find a team. You know, I don't know. He does have a lot of injuries. You know, if you check the Carfax on him, his injury report, it's not pretty, you know. So teams are going to look into that. And we don't even know how healthy he is after his last injury, right? He just came off a broken foot. How healthy is he from that? We don't know, right? So these teams got to look into all his injuries, all the reports, all his health and stuff. So for everybody sitting here saying that Jimmy's automatically going to get a contract next week and sign somewhere, it's not a guarantee. It's not automatic. It's not automatic. So I'm just going to leave you at that. Like, I get it. I know a lot of teams may go after Jimmy, according to the media. They may not. I don't know if he's as hot of a commodity as people think, is where I'm saying. So we'll see. T Money says no one is fighting over Jimmy. It's going to be a last resort. Not bashing him, but it is what it is. I think that's a good way to put it. Like, it's not a hate. It's not bashing him. He's not everybody's first, option. Lamar, Aaron Rodgers, that shoe's got to fall. Lamar, that shoe's got to fall. And then maybe Jimmy. Like, he's not going to be first choice for these teams. He's plan C, plan B, maybe plan D. So he's not the first choice for a lot of these teams. So I get it. I agree with you. It will be interesting to see where he goes, because we do want to know where Jimmy's going to go. Because here's the thing with Jimmy. If he gets paid a certain amount of money, if he gets paid 35% in the 35th percentile of his position at quarterback, 49ers get a third-round compensatory pick. That is why we need to make sure that Jimmy goes somewhere and gets a pretty decent contract. That is why we talk about Jimmy. That's why we worry about where Jimmy's going and how much they're going to give him, because we want that third-round pick compensatory. We got to get something for him. That's the whole the whole situation over the last couple of years is the 49ers were trying to move on from Jimmy. And they didn't trade him because they couldn't get the value they wanted. They wanted at least a second-round pick. They wanted some value out of him. They couldn't squeeze that value out of him because of the injuries and then the surgery. And then they kept him because it was an insurance policy and all that, blah, blah, blah. They want to get at least some value for him. So if he gets a third-round pick, that's great. He was a second-round pick. You turned him into a third-round pick. Not that bad of a net, especially depending on where the third-round pick is in the draft. It almost is like a second-round pick. And the 49ers are really good at third-round pick, so it's a dub. You want that third-round pick. You want to make sure he gets paid. Now, if he's a backup quarterback somewhere and he's not going to get a big contract, then we're going to be having an issue. We better hope that Jimmy Garoppolo gets a starting job somewhere. That's what we want. So, Wes says, watch Jimmy go to the Raiders. That's a possibility. Their head coach and Jimmy have ties to Patriots and their GM. So it's definitely a possibility Jimmy go to the Raiders. I can see it. I can see him. I can see it. Jimmy Garoppolo to Devontae Adams. I can see it. I mean, it boils down to, do the Raiders think he's better than Derek Carr? Is he an upgrade over Derek Carr? Niner fans, what do you think? Is Jimmy Garoppolo better than Derek Carr? Because a lot of Niner fans wanted Derek Carr on the Niners. Would he have been better than Jimmy? That's what the Raiders have to ask themselves. Is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade over Derek Carr? Because if they take a guy that is not better than Derek Carr, they just took an L. Although I feel like Derek Carr needed a reset. I think he needed a clean slate. Him and the Raiders, they were done. That marriage was over. He needed a divorce. He needs a clean slate. So, he says, who's best available after Rodgers? I do think it is Jimmy. So I think Rodgers, Lamar, and Jimmy. Those are the top two. Is Lamar and Aaron Rodgers. And then after that, I guess it's Jimmy. I guess. If he can stay healthy. But that's the problem. Can he stay healthy? And that's what teams are going to look into. So. See, sure goes says Derek is better. So that if the Raiders go and they pivot from Carr to Jimmy, would they have upgraded? Would they have done a good job in their eyes? So they got to ask themselves. It's tough. Jimmy in Vegas, though, would be a vibe. Jimmy in Vegas would be a vibe. Oh, my God. Vegas is fun. Strip clubs. What's Jimmy's nickname? Porn star Jimmy? Can you imagine porn star Jimmy in Vegas with the strippers? Oh, God. That'd be fun. That would be fun times. That would be fun times. Unbelievable times. Can you imagine? Let's see. Any other rumors? Oh, yeah. Let me get back to this story. So yesterday we talked about Philip Rivers. I got to clarify this. I got to give an update on the story because yesterday, I talked about this report. Rich Eisen, he mentioned that he heard last year, or he heard at the combine that last year Philip Rivers was calling the Niners and he wanted to come on the team. We talked about that a little bit, right? We saw that news. So today, Philip Rivers, he denied contacting the Dolphins and the 49ers. He said the teams reached out to him. So this is what this is responding to a report that he reached out to the Dolphins and the 49ers about making a comeback last season. Philip Rivers says he never reached out to anyone. He says teams did reach out to him only for Rivers to tell them, no, thanks, I'm not coming back. So, sometimes these analysts, these media people, they hear things, but sometimes they don't hear everything or they don't hear the story. And it's like the game of telephone. You tell one person something, you tell the next person, and by the time it gets to the 30th person, the whole story is different. So like you told some guy, yo, I had some string cheese for lunch with Matt Stafford in LA. And then boom, Rich Eisen gets it. Bro, Philip Rivers is going to the 49ers last year. They turned it down. That story turns it all the way around. It's like, yo, I had pizza. I had pizza with Deebo Samuel in Denver. Boom. The media gets it. It goes around the circle. And the media's like, hey, Deebo Samuel might go to the Broncos. Denver. That's just how it works. So Philip Rivers says that he didn't reach out to teams. They reached out to him and he says, thanks, but no thanks. That's kind of the story. That's how it goes. So that's the resolution to that. So initially it made us think like, oh my God, the 49ers turned down Philip Rivers and they went with Josh Johnson. I was literally, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little irritated when I read that. I was like, what? Why would you do that? Why, at least Philip Rivers could have been a good emergency. But as we hear now, Philip Rivers says, no, I was reached out by them, and I said no. So, Jose says, BA was live yesterday on IG training. I saw it. He was doing the jump rope. He was jumping rope. He had the garbage bag underneath. Like he was doing like cardio training. He says he gained 30 pounds this offseason. He got to lose that weight. I don't know if he really gained 30 pounds, but that's what he says. He's like, I got to lose my weight. I got to get back in game shape. And people were making fun of him because he had butt sweat, but he was sweating. He's sweating. People would make fun of him. I saw that IG last night. I saw the live. That was funny. Shout out to BA, man. That guy's a beast. Did you see what he posted? We posted a little bit on so KNBR, they posted jersey swap of Lamar Jackson. They posted jersey swap of Lamar Jackson with the side eye emoji, and BA, he posts the skepticism emoji. He's like, the fuck, bro? Why are you guys why are you guys drumming this up? We got quarterbacks. That's what he said. I don't know if you guys saw it. I posted on my IG. It was pretty funny. So we don't need that. We don't need Lamar. Brandon Ayuk's probably tired of all the quarterback drama. He's tired of everybody sitting there drumming up quarterback drama. He's tired of it, man. Every year. Trey Ready is this guy. Brandon Ayuk's probably tired of this quarterback nonsense. So maybe he said he was working off that tequila. Yeah, he did say that. He said, I got to work this tequila weight off. Let's get to this. What do I think about Jimmy Ward's live yesterday? I posted a snippet of it. I got more of it. I just didn't get the rest of it up, but I posted the most important part of it. I liked it. I think Jimmy Ward was basically telling us what he told us last time. He wants to stay in the Niners, but it's got to be the right price. I think he deserves to get paid. And he said kind of what I was saying is the 49ers have a lot of free agents, and they're not going to be able to sign everybody back. He says it's expensive. There's a lot of good players on this team, but it's going to look different. And then he kind of clarified the nickel position situation because, his last live, people kind of made it seem like when he was talking about that story, how he told Kyle, I don't want to play nickel. What do you mean? Just bench me. He clarified it, and he basically made it sound like, well, not made it sound. He basically said, like, hey, look, I would love to play nickel, but make sure you train me in the early part of the season because he knew K'Waun Williams was going to leave, and most likely the writing was on the wall, so they needed a nickel. So this was all before the draft, before they got Womack. He says, look, man, I could take some reps this offseason in nickel, so I'm ready if I need to be at that moment. And they played Womack there. They played Deommodore Lenoir early on. They didn't give him his reps. So, boom, when he came back from injury, Gibson was doing good, and they said, all right, time to play nickel because we need Gibson on the field. He was like, well, I can't play right now. And he made sense because he's right. He is a free agent. He wanted to put good film on tape. He didn't want to just go out there and look stupid and get exposed. And because how the fans are going to sit there, oh, he sucks at nickel. He needed to get his reps. He needed to make sure he gets a feel of the system as a nickel. As he got through the season, he did get better at the nickel, but he didn't want to put bad film on tape. So I agree with everything Jimmy said on there. I think he kept it a buck. I think he said everything that was right. And he did say it's going to be expensive to bring him back, but it's going to be more expensive to get a guy like Jesse Bates. So, and the other thing that Jimmy Ward says is no matter who you bring into this team, it's going to be hard to replace Jimmy. And yes, I know Jimmy doesn't get a lot of turnovers, and some people are saying, oh, he's not that great, because you look at the box score, he doesn't have an impact. But I beg to differ. I think he is a good, solid, impactful player, but also his leadership. The guy can hit, he can cover, he can play all the field. He was willing to play nickel for the team. He's a team guy, and he's a captain. He's a leader, and I think that's something that people don't realize how good he is as a leader. And he did mention that. He says, I am a guy that can come in and be that captain and be that leader for these young guys, and that's hard to replace. He's absolutely right. You can't put a price on veteran leadership. You absolutely cannot. And I respect him for that. It's definitely going to be hard to lose Jimmy Ward because he's a big-time part of the culture in that locker room. He's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal guy. He's been through a lot of adversity. He keeps it 100. He's just a great, teammate. I've talked to him through the years. I have talked to him, and I think he's a very good player and just a very, good leader. I like the guy. He was probably one of the first players that ever noticed me. So maybe I got a, soft side for Jimmy, but I've always been a fan of his. And I know when he came into this team, man, he had a lot of injuries and people gave him crap. And I was like, I see the talent. You just got to stay healthy, man. Just got to stay healthy. You know what I mean? So I love Jimmy, man. He's always, gave it his all. He's battled adversity. Cool dude, man. So I've grown to be a big fan of Jimmy over the years. I hope he doesn't leave, but I think he is going to leave. The writing's on the wall. He's out in Houston. That's where he's at. He's in Houston, man. So, I mean, what are you doing in Houston, Jimmy? What are you doing in Houston? You ain't going there for vacation. Nobody goes to Houston for vacation. Nobody goes to Houston for vacation. You tested out the real estate. He's looking at the real estate. That's what I think he's doing. He's looking at all the houses. He's feeling it out. He's feeling it out over there. So I think he's going to Houston 100%. So love that guy, though. Good dude. I love that guy. I respect him. And it's crazy because he did come from the Trent Baalke era, right? He wasn't even part of the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era. So it's interesting to know he got drafted from Baalke era, right? And he was one of the last surviving members. He's the last of the Mohicans, right? So he got drafted. New regime change. They got a whole new GM, John Lynch, and head coach, Kyle Shanahan. And usually they get rid of players. They only kept a few of those players. And he was one of them. And he's been on this team longer than anybody. So we'll see, man. But it will be sad to see Jimmy go. You got to replace him with someone good. And he said the same thing, too. Like, no matter who they get, if they're going to draft a guy, they got a lot of responsibilities because you got to play single high. You got to be able to play in the box. You got to be able to play outside, inside coverage. There's a lot of stuff that Jimmy does, man, that people don't notice. So, Wes, so we just talked about this. He says, I heard that Philip Rivers reached out to us during the offseason or the season last year. So that was the initial report that Rich Eisen had said. He said that the 49ers and the Dolphins reached out to Philip Rivers last year. Or no, he says that he reached out. Sorry. He said that Philip Rivers called these teams and says, I want to get back in, the NFL and this and that. But according to this morning's report from Philip Rivers, he says he never reached out to anybody. They reached out to him. He says that the teams looked at him and they called him. And he says, no, Dad, so I'm not coming out of retirement. So that was the real story. So the real story is Philip Rivers was called from these teams. But the initial report was he reached out to them. So that's the other way around. And he says, no, I'm good. I got 30 kids to raise, and I'm enjoying retirement. That guy's got a lot of kids, but he got like 19 kids. 19 kids? Philip Rivers, how many kids does he have? Wes says, yeah, just a room. 19 kids? Is that how many kids? How many kids does Philip Rivers have off top? That's a lot of kids. How many kids does Philip Rivers have? That guy has a lot of kids, man. That wife's a factory. How many kids does he have? That's a lot. 9 children. Okay. I thought it was 19. I knew there was a 9 in there. That's still a lot. 9 kids? 9? That man almost has a starting defense on his hand. He almost has a starting defense on his hand. That's crazy. Philip Rivers and his wife, Tiffany, have enough kids to field an NFL offense. 9 kids. God bless his wife to pop out 9 kids. That's a lot. Busy, man. Pull out. No doubt, man. No doubt, man. Bro got a baseball team. That's a busy 9 kids. I'm good with just 1. The first 7 were girls. That's crazy. He was probably like, I need a boy. I have a good friend. I have a couple friends, but I have one of my good friends when I was way before I became a PT. One of my old bosses I worked for when I was like a PT tech working at this clinic. And that guy has 6 kids. They're all daughters. He gave up. Every year he was like trying to get a girl or a boy. Every year. He's like, we're going for a boy this year. I was like, bro, give it up. After 4, I was like, just give it up. 5 came out, girl. 6 came out. He's like, I'm done. Vasectomy, I'm done. 6 kids, all girls, man. I was like, God, dog, bro. He's the only guy in that house. It was crazy. Terrence says, I said 19. He was I had to Google it too because I thought it was 19, bro. Like, for some reason, I thought it was 19, but it's 9. Take off 10. So, oh, man. My man West says my uncle has 7, took 5 tries to get a glass. That's a lot. That's a lot of kids. They ain't cheap. The kids are not cheap. Expensive. Kids are expensive. I'm good with one. I don't know how the heck I would afford that many kids. Man. 4 kids. My man ZP says 4 kids if I was rich. These comments are funny, man. They 100% are. Shout out to Philip Rivers, though, for clearing that up. Let's see. Any questions? Anything else that you guys want to dive into? I mean, that's pretty much the big news of the day. Obviously, the 49ers getting ready to hit free agents season next week, just like everybody else in the NFL. It's been a slow off season, but I definitely think that it's gonna really, really, really heat up in the next few days. I feel like there's just gonna be one of these days where it's gonna be a news dump. Like I feel like Friday or Saturday there might be a nice little news dump. So we'll see. My man said 1 0 for 2, but good. Bless my 2 girls. I got one amazing daughter, and we're good with that. ZP says, a mother freaking Rodgers coming. He's definitely not coming to the Bay. That's for sure. Unless he plays the Niners. The only way Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Niners is if he plays against us. That's it. He ain't coming to the Bay. Aaron Rodgers is come to the Bay. Wes says, yeah, rumors says Rodgers going to the Jets. That's what we were talking about earlier. He definitely feels like, I mean, they're putting full court press on this guy. Do I think that they'll make any big moves, a big signing? I just don't see it because I just don't think they have big time money. It depends on if they make some contract restructures here and there. And they got a lot of free agents on their own team that they want to prioritize, right? You got a lot of good players that are going to be free agents from this team. Emmanuel Mosley, Tashawn Gibson, Jimmy Ward, Robbie Gould, Mike McGlinchey, Jake Brendel, Dan Brunskill, Aziz Al-Shahir. There's a lot of quality players. Samson Ebicam, Charles Amena, who are they going to bring back? And that kind of tells you where they feel about this team, who they may draft going on from there. So I don't know if they're going to make a splash this year unless they, rework some contracts here and there. Maybe they get one big splash this offseason. And if they do, I think it's defensive line. I feel like the 49ers really, really, really want to stack this defensive line. That's their bread and butter with this regime, right? Is stacking that defensive line. So my man Ryan says, am I the only one who wants Jason Kelce on a 1-year, $12 million deal? I don't think you're the only one. I like Jason Kelce. Dude's probably, I don't know if he's probably going to retire here in a year or two if he comes back. But yeah, 1 year, that guy's a beast, man. I love Jason Kelce. He's a great player. Respect what a career he's had. I wouldn't mind it. Terrence Khalil Mack, if they get rid of Khalil, he's gonna be on the market, but he's gonna have to take a cheaper contract, to come to the Niners. Only way we get Khalil is if the Chargers cut him, which they might. I've read some rumors that he is a possible cap casualty. They may cut him. We'll see. I would definitely love Khalil Mack. Are you kidding me? Whew. Khalil, Bosa, even though he's a little older, still would be fun. I need them to get some quality edge rushers. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited though. I gotta see. I hope they make some contract restructures in the next couple of days. That right there, if they make a big restructure in the next couple of days, I think that's gonna tell us a lot of what we need to know. So trade 2024 first and 2024 second for Joey Bosa. Oh man, just like Nick said, they'd break the internet, man. They really would. Oh man, it'd be fun to see the Bosa brothers on the same team, man. It'd be amazing. Doubt it would ever happen. So, Joey Bosa is a free agent next year, I believe, though, right? Yeah. Doubt. There you go. You have to pay him a lot of money, though. He likes his money. That'd be nice. Can you imagine? Imagine? That'd be fun. I'm sure they talk about it. They train together. They live together in the off season in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Be nice. My man, Niner guy for life. What's up, my man? I'll talk to you in a minute. Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah, I like Jeffrey Simmons. We talked about this on the Krug show the other day. Jeffrey Simmons would be nice. I know he's kind of upset with the Titans and their management. He deleted his Instagram stuff. Seems like he's trying to force his way out of the Titans. And, they got a new GM, and if he's not going to be part of this new team, he'll clip those wings as fast as he can. I would love Jeffrey Simmons. The guy's a monster. You kidding me? You put him on that D line. That's the guy that I would love to get. Yeah, trade for Jeffrey. Trade for him, but I don't know. Again, it's gonna all come down to money. I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of players we'd love to have. Hargrave, right? There's so many good players out there, but it all has to make sense money wise. So we'll see. Frank Clark. I like Frank Clark. Hey, Peter Parker says Titans are having a fire sale. Yeah, they are. I love it. They're rebuilding, and it's good. Rand Carthon's coming in, and you don't want to be here? Get the hell out of my face. They might trade Derrick Henry. I mean, they're going to be looking a lot different in the next couple of years. And it's good, though. It's a new GM. Fix him up, man. I like Rand. I think he'll do a good job there. I wish him success there. Former Niner. What do I think about Arden Key? Oh, I love Arden Key. Actually, I saw him live this afternoon. I was like, yo, man, slide back to the Bay. I would love Arden Key to come back. Good player, hard. He's got a good motor. That's the guy that the 49ers really kind of gave him a second chance in his career, and he really stepped up, and Chris Kasurek did a good job on him. And, he was good for the Jaguars last year. I think he'll end up going back to the Jaguars. I think they'll figure out how to bring back. But I would love, Arden Key. He's a good rotational guy. I think you could still get, more elite talent. But, Arden Key's great. I like that guy. Ryan says, my best friend is a Titans fan, and he's hating the Titans rebuilding. Tell him not to hate it. They got a great GM. Rand Carthon's from the same system as he was, he was in the front office of the 49ers. He knows how to make this team. He knows how to make a good team. He'll fix them up. They're going to be a good team in a couple of years. I believe it. The 49ers, they had the new GM, right? You remember when Lynch came in, they took a couple of years, but they look at the talent they have. They're going to draft good. The Titans are going to draft good. They're going to build some great talent on that team. Give it a year or two, and they'll be a pretty solid team in that division. So tell them to be patient. I think Rand's going to be a good GM for them. Sometimes you need a rebuild. So, get rid of Tannehill. I don't think Tannehill should belong in that. His contract's crazy. They can do better than him. Move on from Tannehill if I'm them. Let's see. We'll do one more question. We'll call it a night. Do I think Christian is signing with the Niners this season? Christian McCaffrey, he's on the team. He's already signed through 2025, so he'll be there. I just got to maybe restructure his deal a little bit. So we'll be good. I told him that they have a great GM, but he feels that QB away. Yeah, I mean, they definitely need a quarterback. That's a lot of teams. Most teams are a quarterback away from a lot. 49ers were a quarterback away from probably getting to the Super Bowl. We'll see. That's always the issue is quarterback. People love quarterbacks, man. Quarterbacks run this league. Wes. So, who's our kicker next season? That's a good question, Wes. Definitely not going to be Robbie Gould if I'm going to predict anything. I don't think he's coming back. I would love to him. We talked about him earlier, but I think they'll draft someone. I do think they'll draft someone. I know there's some free agent kickers available. Maybe they'll tap into the market and see who's there, but I think the 49ers would be smart and draft a kicker because it's going to be a lot cheaper to go draft a kicker. A couple $100,000 compared to a couple $1 million, man. You got to save some money somehow because you got Bosa and few other players you want to really bring back, and then you got to pay the fifth-year option to Brandon Ayuk. You got to realize, you got to think about long-term. I think they draft a kicker. If it's up to me, I like Jake Moody. That's my boy. Go get Jake Moody. The guy can kick it from 59 yards, and he's a hell of a young kicker. I think that's the guy. I think you go and spend a draft pick on Jake Moody. So that's the man, baby. That's the guy. Go get Jake Moody. Go bring him Moody to the Bay. We'd be kicking 50, 60 yarders from, we'd be kicking it from midfield, baby. Let's go. And Kyle would be a little bit more aggressive, too, if he had a kicker like that, I feel like. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe a little bit more aggressive. For Kyle. So we'll see, though. I definitely don't think Robbie Gould's coming back. but we'll see. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tomorrow, I'll be live with No Border Sports. Ryan from No Border Sports. We'll be doing our show together. We're gonna try to do something regular every week. I had him. I think I was on his show about a week ago. So I told him I'll return the favor and have him on my show tomorrow. So tomorrow, when I go live, I'll be with Ryan from No Border Sports. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he's a cool dude. So we'll be live tomorrow together, and then yeah, we'll see how the rest of the week goes, and then free agency starts next week. Tomorrow we're gonna shoot for 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, so I should be on time tomorrow. 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll be live. See you tomorrow. Make sure you hit that like button. I love y'all. Almost 10K. You're right, Terrence. We're getting there. Appreciate y'all. I really do. I really appreciate all the support. And y'all have a good night.